If you're over 60, this message could change your life. Stroke doesn't always come with a warning. One minute you feel strong and capable, and the next, your speech slurs, your arm won't lift, or your memory slips into silence. As a neurologist, I've seen far too many seniors hurt themselves not through bad intentions, but through well-meaning morning habits they thought were helping. And here's the truth. Some of the most dangerous stroke triggers happen during your morning exercise. Not because you move, but because of how, when, and what your body is doing before, during, and after you move. The good news is that most strokes can be prevented if you know what to avoid. In this message, I'll walk you through the top 5 exercise mistakes seniors make in the morning that silently triple stroke risk. These are common, often praised, and tragically misunderstood. If you stay with me to the end, you'll learn how to protect your brain every single day, starting tomorrow morning. Let's begin with the first silent threat: jumping into exercise too soon after waking up. Before we dive in, if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you hit that button and turn on the bell so you never miss another health tip made just for you. If you enjoy this video, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0 to let me know how I can make better content for you. 1. Exercising right after waking up without letting your body adjust. At 7:05 a.m. last Wednesday, I admitted Mr. Thompson, a 71-year-old retired firefighter, into the neurology ward after he collapsed while walking briskly around his block. He'd been doing what he thought was healthy, getting up early and going for a power walk to start his day strong, but he had no idea he was setting himself up for a mini stroke. That morning, he stood up from bed too quickly, skipped water, and immediately stepped outside to walk in the chilly air. Within minutes, he felt dizzy, lost balance, and his left leg gave out. A neighbor found him slumped by the sidewalk, confused and slurring his words. This is far more common than people realize. After the age of 60, your body's internal regulation systems, especially your blood pressure, heart rhythm, and brain circulation, slow down and become more fragile. When you first wake up, your body is still transitioning from a state of rest. Your blood pressure is low, your blood vessels are relaxed, and your brain is not yet receiving its full supply of oxygen. Jumping out of bed and immediately beginning physical movement is like asking a cold engine to go from 0 to 60 without warming up. The sudden shift from lying flat to standing upright too quickly, especially in older adults, causes orthostatic hypotension, a dangerous drop in blood pressure. For someone with narrowed arteries, this can reduce blood flow to the brain just enough to trigger a mini stroke or even a full-blown ischemic event. And yet, this mistake happens every single morning in households across America. The price? It could be your speech, your memory, your ability to walk, smile, or even recognize your loved ones. One moment you feel fine, the next you've lost control over half your body, maybe for life. The saddest part is that it's completely preventable. The answer isn't to stop moving, it's to respect the pace of your aging body. When you wake up, sit on the edge of your bed for at least 90 seconds. Breathe slowly. Roll your ankles. Wiggle your fingers. Take a few sips of water. Let your circulation catch up to gravity before you even think about walking or stretching. This small act of patience could add years of independence to your life. And remember this, the brain doesn't like to be rushed. It doesn't care if you're running late for your morning walk or trying to beat the summer heat. It only wants oxygen, stability, and flow. Give it that, and it will reward you with clarity and strength. Ignore it, and it may punish you in silence until it's too late. But here's something even more subtle and equally dangerous. What if you're breathing wrong while you exercise? Fast, shallow, and anxious. Let me tell you why how you breathe might be the hidden stroke trigger you've never even thought about. If you're still watching and finding these insights helpful, please comment number one below to let me know you're with me. Now let's move on to point number two. Two, ignoring your breathing, fast, shallow breaths during morning exercise. Her name was Darlene. She was 68, a retired teacher, and one of the most disciplined patients I had ever met. She walked every morning at 6:30, followed a clean diet, and didn't smoke or drink. On the surface, Darlene was doing everything right. But one morning, she collapsed in her driveway. Her vision blurred, she couldn't speak clearly, and her right arm felt numb. Her husband rushed her to the ER, and that's where I met her. She'd had what we call a transient ischemic attack or mini stroke. And the trigger? It wasn't her diet. It wasn't her heart. It was her breathing. You see, Darlene was unknowingly making a mistake that millions of older adults make every morning. She walked fast and breathed fast. With each step, her breath became shallower and more rapid. She thought she was just pushing herself, but in truth, her brain was starving for oxygen. As we age, our blood vessels become less elastic, our lungs less efficient, and our brain more sensitive to even small drops in oxygen. Fast, shallow breathing, what doctors call chest breathing, leads to poor oxygen exchange. This forces the heart to beat faster, narrows the blood vessels, and disrupts normal circulation to the brain. For someone over 60, this can easily push you into a dangerous zone. Irregular heart rhythms, blood pressure spikes, or even a blood clot reaching the brain. Breathing might seem automatic, but during exercise, especially in the morning when the body is least prepared, how you breathe becomes a matter of life and death. You may think you're doing something good for your health, when in fact you're creating a silent storm in your bloodstream, one that could take away your memory, your speech, or your mobility forever. The tragedy of Darlene's case isn't that she walked too far. It's that no one ever told her that her brain needs deep, measured breathing, like it needs water and blood. When you breathe fast, your body thinks you're under stress. And for an aging heart and brain, that false alarm can cause real damage. The solution is surprisingly simple, but most people never hear it. During exercise, breathe in deeply through your nose and out slowly through your mouth. Take slow, rhythmic steps that match your breathing. If you're panting, you're pushing too hard. Morning exercise should nourish your brain, not shock it. Because here's what no one tells you. Strokes often don't happen during the workout. They happen after, when your body is crashing from poor oxygen flow and unstable blood pressure. And once brain cells die, they don't grow back. I often tell my patients, if you're walking to live longer, then breathe like your life depends on it, because it does. And speaking of hidden dangers, there's another one that creeps up just as silently. When you exercise in cold weather without warming up properly or protecting your body from the chill, you're opening the door wide for a stroke to strike. Let me show you why that third mistake is even more common and far more deadly. 3. Exercising in cold weather without staying warm. It was a bitter February morning when I first met John, a 73-year-old Korean War veteran who believed in pushing through discomfort. Every day, rain or shine, he'd put on his sneakers and walk the same 3 blocks around his neighborhood. No gloves, no scarf, no warming up. He believed cold air toughened the body. But that morning, the cold didn't strengthen John. It almost killed him. About halfway through his usual walk, he began feeling short of breath, then lightheaded. By the time he reached his porch, he was slurring his speech and his right arm felt numb. His wife thankfully recognized the signs and called 911 immediately. He'd suffered a cold-induced ischemic stroke, brought on by a sudden constriction of his blood vessels in response to cold exposure. This story isn't rare. In fact, stroke rates spike during the colder months, particularly in the early morning. Why? Because cold weather is not just uncomfortable, it's dangerous for aging bodies. As we grow older, our blood vessels lose elasticity. Cold temperatures cause these vessels to constrict sharply, raising blood pressure and reducing circulation. That sudden tightening forces the heart to work harder. And if the vessels in the brain are already narrowed or weakened, even a minor pressure spike can lead to rupture or blockage. Morning is the riskiest time of day for this to happen. Your body is already in a vulnerable state. Blood is thicker from overnight dehydration, your heart rate is low, and circulation is slower. Add cold air, stiff joints, and no warming layer. You've created a perfect storm inside your body, especially if you're over 60. But what makes it more dangerous is the illusion of doing something good. You're moving, you're staying active, and that's admirable. But if you're stepping outside into freezing air in just a sweatshirt and sneakers, especially without warming up, you're putting your brain at risk without even knowing it. I've treated patients like John who lost their speech, their coordination, and even their independence, all because of a 5-minute walk taken in the wrong conditions. The fix isn't to stop exercising, it's to exercise smart. Before going out, check the temperature. If it's below 55 degrees F, 13 degrees Celsius, consider delaying your walk or doing gentle movement indoors. Always wear layers, cover your head and hands, and warm up inside for 5-10 minutes before stepping out. Your brain, your heart, and your future will thank you. John survived his stroke, but he no longer walks unassisted. He needs a cane and speech therapy now. And every time we meet, he says the same thing. If I had just worn a hat, if I had just waited an hour, I wouldn't be like this. Cold can be cruel. It doesn't shout. It creeps into your bloodstream and tightens everything until something breaks. Don't let a morning chill be the last walk you take alone. And while cold constricts the vessels on the outside, there's something even more dangerous happening on the inside. When you exercise without drinking water first. Most seniors don't feel thirsty when they wake up, but that silent dehydration might just be what sets off the stroke you never saw coming. Let me explain why in the next section. If you're still watching and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 1 below to let me know you're here. Now let's keep going with point number 4. 4. Not drinking water before or after morning exercise. When I first met Elaine, she was 76 and recovering from what she thought was a random stroke. But strokes, I reminded her, are almost never random. Elaine was active, full of life, and walked every morning after feeding her birds. But like many seniors, she had developed a habit she never thought twice about, waking up, grabbing her shoes, and heading straight out the door for a walk, without a sip of water. That small detail cost her more than she ever imagined. Elaine came to me after suffering a left-side ischemic stroke. She'd woken up early, felt fine, and started her usual route. But about 15 minutes in, she became dizzy, had trouble keeping her balance, and her vision blurred. She managed to make it home, but by the time she sat down, her speech had already begun to slur. We ran her labs and scans. Her brain scan showed a minor stroke. Her blood work? Thickened blood, signs of mild dehydration. She had no idea that skipping that simple glass of water each morning was slowly stacking the odds against her. As we age, our sense of thirst dulls. Even if our body needs hydration, we don't always feel it. After a night's sleep, you've gone 6 to 8 hours without fluids. Your blood becomes slightly thicker, your blood pressure more volatile, and your heart has to pump harder to circulate blood to your brain. Now imagine adding movement, even a gentle walk to that internal pressure cooker. That's what Elaine was unknowingly doing every day, and she's not alone. Thousands of older adults begin their day dehydrated, putting enormous strain on their cardiovascular system, especially during the most vulnerable time of day, early morning, when blood pressure naturally spikes. Dehydration narrows your blood vessels and reduces the brain's oxygen supply, the two core ingredients that can lead directly to a stroke. And if you're on diuretics or medications for blood pressure, that effect is magnified tenfold. The danger here isn't just what you feel, it's what you don't. You may feel fine, no headache, no dry mouth, but your brain, your heart, your circulation, they're all working harder than they should be simply because they're running dry. Elaine made a full recovery, but only after months of physical therapy. Her left hand still trembles when she lifts a glass, a daily reminder of what one simple habit could have prevented. Water is not optional for the aging brain. It's fuel, flow, and survival. Every senior I treat hears the same line from me. If you're walking without water in your system, you're walking toward a risk you don't see coming. Drink a full glass of room temperature water before you move your body, and another after. It doesn't take long, but it can give your brain years of protection. Because here's something most seniors never realize: it's not just what you do in the morning, but how consistently you do it. In fact, swinging between too much and too little exercise, especially after 60, might be putting even more strain on your heart than you think. Let me show you why inconsistent workouts can shock your heart and pressure your brain in ways you never expected. 5. Exercising inconsistently, overdoing it. Some days, skipping at others, and shocking your heart and blood pressure. I remember Mr. Alvarez well. He was 70, a retired construction supervisor, proud of his strong work ethic and even prouder of his decision to start walking every morning after his cardiologist told him to be more active. But like many people in his age group, he fell into a dangerous trap. He exercised when he felt up to it, and on the days he did, he'd push hard to make up for lost time. For a week or two, he'd walk fast, stretch long, and feel good. But then he'd feel tired and take a few days off. Then guilt would kick in, and he'd push himself even harder on the next walk, sometimes doing double the distance. He thought he was being responsible, but he wasn't giving his aging heart and blood vessels what they truly need: consistency. One Tuesday morning, after returning from a brisk 45-minute walk, double what he normally did, Mr. Alvarez collapsed in his kitchen. His wife found him on the floor, conscious but confused, unable to lift his right hand. He had suffered a mild stroke. When I reviewed his history, I saw a common and often silent pattern: spikes and crashes in blood pressure. His heart, which had adjusted to moderate activity, was being shocked by sudden bursts of overexertion. These irregular patterns cause stress to the inner lining of arteries, increase inflammation, and create the perfect conditions for blood clots or vessel ruptures in the brain. What most people don't realize is that inconsistency in exercise is just as dangerous as inactivity. The human body, especially after 60, thrives on rhythm, not intensity. Seniors often believe more is better. But when you jump from no activity to high-intensity movement, you're not building resilience. You're putting your heart and brain under attack. You see, sudden, intense activity causes blood pressure to rise rapidly, often beyond what stiff, aged arteries can handle. On top of that, the cardiovascular system doesn't recover as quickly in older adults. That means the damage lingers, and with it, the risk of stroke and heart complications. Mr. Alvarez is now recovering, but he moves more slowly than before. He wishes he had treated his morning walks the same way he used to approach safety on a construction site, with preparation, routine, and respect for limits. If you're exercising to stay alive longer, then you must move in a way that supports your heart, not shocks it. That means shorter, consistent daily movement. not heroic bursts of sweat followed by days on the couch. Think of exercise like medication, the right dose at the right time every day. Not too little, not too much. Because here's the hard truth. It's not just your activity level that determines your risk of stroke. It's also how you recover. And that brings us to a mistake that happens after your walk ends. When you go inside, cool off, and make one small but deadly error with your medications. Let me tell you what happens when seniors skip or misuse their pills after exercise, and how it quietly destroys your brain's safety net. 6. Skipping or misusing medications after morning exercise. Just 3 months ago, I had a patient named Margaret, 74, widowed, fiercely independent, and proud of how she managed her own health. Every morning, she'd walk 3 laps around her quiet suburban block, then sit down for a cup of coffee. Her blood pressure pills sat on the counter, but she often skipped them. "I feel fine today," she told herself. "Why take it if I feel good?" Margaret came into my care after suffering a moderate stroke that affected her speech and coordination. When I asked her about her morning routine, she admitted it. She didn't always take her medications, or she sometimes took them hours after waking, depending on how she felt. And on days she exercised, she often thought, "Well, maybe I don't need the meds if I've already moved my body." This is one of the most dangerous misjudgments I see in seniors. After 60, your body doesn't regulate itself as well. Your blood pressure fluctuates more rapidly, your heart reacts more sensitively to exertion, and your brain becomes more vulnerable to even minor interruptions in blood flow. When you skip your blood pressure medication, especially in the morning when blood pressure naturally rises, you allow your arteries to experience a dangerous surge. And if you take blood thinners or cholesterol meds inconsistently, you risk blood clots forming in the very vessels meant to keep your brain alive. Pair that with post-exercise dehydration or a spike in adrenaline, and you've unknowingly created a perfect recipe for a stroke. Medications are not optional based on how you feel. They are designed to prevent what you can't feel yet. Silent damage building in your vessels, plaque forming along artery walls, or unstable rhythms in your heartbeat that only show themselves when it's too late. Margaret now takes her pills on time, but she does it with the help of a pill organizer and daily alarms because her memory and part of her independence were taken by a decision she thought was harmless. I tell every patient, you lock your doors at night whether you expect danger or not. You take your medications in the morning for the same reason, because the threat is already out there. But even after you've done everything right, once warmed up, breathed well, stayed hydrated, taken your pills, there's one more silent danger that hides in the background of every senior's morning, ignoring the first urge to go to the bathroom. And what that does to your brain might shock you. Your morning habits are writing your brain's future. Every morning, your brain wakes up just like you do, slowly, delicately, and needing protection. And yet, most strokes I treat in people over 60 aren't the result of accidents or bad luck. They're the final consequence of daily habits that seem harmless, even healthy, but quietly chip away at the brain's defenses. Jumping out of bed too quickly before your body has adjusted, breathing fast and shallow during exercise, stepping outside into the cold without warming up, skipping water, exercising in bursts with no rhythm. And worst of all, missing or misusing your medications. These are not small oversights. These are the kind of mistakes that build silently over months and years, until one day your speech falters, your hand won't move, or your memory starts to slip away. The saddest truth? Almost all of it is preventable. Your brain does not need heroic workouts or perfect diets. It needs consistency, care, and respect. A slow rise in the morning, deep, rhythmic breathing, Gentle motion done every day, not just when it's convenient. A full glass of water, a warm scarf, a pill taken on time, even if you feel fine. These little actions may not feel powerful, but to your aging brain, they are the difference between clarity and confusion, between independence and dependence, between life before stroke and life after. I've seen the cost of ignoring these habits in faces that no longer recognize loved ones, in hands that can't feed themselves, in voices silenced too soon. But I've also seen the power of awareness and small, intentional change. I've watched patients come back stronger, sharper, and more confident just by reclaiming their mornings. So I'll leave you with this. Your brain doesn't care what day it is. It only cares what you do with it. Every choice you make before 9 a.m. sets the tone for your blood pressure, your circulation, your memory, and your mood. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present, consistent, and gentle with yourself. Because stroke doesn't knock. It doesn't warn you. But if you listen closely to your body each morning, you'll hear the whisper long before the scream. And that awareness, that's your real medicine. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.